While the world was still celebrating the end of pandemic-era supply shortages, something quiet and devastating was happening in the used van market. Vans purchased for top dollar just a year or two before were shedding value at a pace that left their owners stunned. Not because they were bad machines, but because the market had shifted, the economics had changed, and the timing had been brutal. These are the 5 vans that crashed hardest in value from 2026 to 2027. We are talking about vehicles that lost tens of thousands of dollars in resale value in just 12 months. Some were victims of changing buyer tastes. Some fell to the weight of high operating costs. And one, the most talked about van of its generation, collapsed under the pressure of its own impossible expectations. Have you ever bought a vehicle and watched its value disappear right before your eyes? These owners know that hollow feeling, and the numbers, when you see them clearly, are genuinely shocking. Let us start with a van that almost no one is talking about, and that is exactly why its fall was so devastating. The 2022 Chrysler Voyager LX was never trying to be exciting. Practical, affordable family transportation. That was its entire pitch. At launch, it sat in the mid-20s in terms of pricing, offering 7-seat comfort, a 3.6-liter Pentastar V6 with 287 horsepower, and Chrysler's long-running reputation for minivan practicality. But here is something most buyers glossed over. The Voyager LX was, in many ways, a stripped-down Pacifica. Same platform, same engine, far fewer features. And in a market where buyers increasingly compare options through algorithms and side-by-side spec sheets, that gap became fatal. By 2027, a Voyager LX that had sold for $26,000 new was trading in private sales for under $14,000, a depreciation of nearly 46% in 5 years. For families who had financed at peak prices, many were now upside down, owing more than the van was worth. What dragged it down so hard? Oversupply. Chrysler had pushed significant inventory during 2021 and 2022, riding pent-up pandemic demand. When demand normalized, those units flooded the used market simultaneously. Rising competition from used Toyota Siennas, Honda Odysseys, and Kia Carnivales, all carrying stronger reputations and more loyal buyer bases, left the Voyager LX with fewer and fewer reasons to be chosen. The lesson is one of brand equity. In the van world, perception is pricing. And when perception fades, the numbers follow hard. Now let us move to a van that had far more going for it and still hit the wall at speed. The 2022 Ford Transit passenger wagon carries genuine weight. Built on a lineage of commercial durability spanning continents, the Transit name means something. The 2022 versions offered the 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6, producing 310 horsepower, with load capacity, towing capability, and reliability credentials that few competitors can match. But capable is not the same as desirable in the second-hand space. The Transit passenger wagon has always served a narrower institutional niche, shuttle companies, large families, tour operators, rather than the broader conversion and cargo community that drives perpetual demand for the cargo version. By 2026, fleet disposals were hitting auction lanes by the hundreds as operators shifted to electric shuttle alternatives or trimmed their rosters post-pandemic. Supply surged at the exact moment buyers retreated. The result? A van that had stickered around $42,000 new was clearing for $22,000 to $27,000 by early 2027, a contraction of $15,000 to $20,000 that no commercial buyer had modeled. Same badge, same platform, completely different resale floor. Which van surprised you most so far? Tell me in the comments, because the next one will seriously challenge everything you thought you knew about premium van values. When you think of vehicles that hold their value, you think of Mercedes-Benz. The three-pointed star has built decades of residual value reputation, especially in the van segment, where the Sprinter became almost synonymous with prestige, durability, and the van life movement itself. Which makes what happened to the 2021 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter 2500 passenger so remarkable. Fully optioned 2021 Sprinter 2500 passenger examples, fitted with the 3.0-liter V6 diesel or the 2.0-liter turbocharged four-cylinder, could push past $65,000. Buyers paid that premium believing the Sprinter's track record would protect their investment. Running your hand along that iconic high roofline, feeling its commanding proportions, the price felt like a calculated bet rather than a gamble. But a series of converging forces fractured that conviction. First, as 2021 Sprinters aged out of warranty, the maintenance cost reality landed hard. European-derived systems, complex AdBlue technology, specialized diesel components, dealer-only service requirements, proved substantially more expensive than buyers had anticipated. Stories spread through van life forums: $500 oil changes, $1,000 sensor replacements, multi-$1,000 DEF system repairs. The narrative around Sprinter ownership shifted from prestige workhorse to expensive liability. Second, the market was flooded. Mercedes had ramped Sprinter deliveries dramatically during 2021 and 2022 to meet extraordinary demand from the conversion community and the commercial sector. Many of those units began re-entering the used market by 2025 and 2026, often carrying high commercial mileage or burdened with partially completed conversion interiors that made private resale complicated. By 2027, the math had arrived at a 30 to 40% haircut on an asset buyers had been told would hold its worth. A well-maintained 2021 Sprinter 2500 passenger with under 80,000 miles, purchased new for $55,000 to $65,000, was now changing hands in the $35,000 to $42,000 range. Those who had signed the loan documents at the market's peak found a painful gap between what they owed and what the van would actually fetch. 3 vans down, 3 different collapses, but each one traceable, in hindsight, to forces that were always there: oversupply, shrinking demand, rising running costs. The fourth story shares none of that logic. It involves a brand whose very name is supposed to be synonymous with reliability. The 2021 Toyota Sienna Hybrid LE arrived with a genuinely revolutionary proposition. The first minivan on the American market to offer full hybrid technology as standard equipment on every model. The 2.5-liter four-cylinder Atkinson cycle hybrid system with electric motor produced a combined 245 horsepower and returned 36 miles per gallon combined, a number that had no rival in the segment. For families watching fuel costs climb year over year, the Sienna Hybrid felt like the obvious choice. Imagine sitting behind that wheel for the first time. The near-silent acceleration, the smooth power delivery, the knowledge that you were driving the most efficient minivan ever sold in America. That feeling was real. The Sienna Hybrid is, by any honest measure, an excellent machine. And yet, by 2026 and into 2027, the 2021 Toyota Sienna Hybrid LE was shedding value at a pace that Toyota loyalists simply did not see coming. The LE, the entry trim, had the thinnest feature set of the lineup. As used car shoppers stacked it against newer 2024 and 2025 Siennas with updated infotainment, revised safety technology, and a more refined hybrid calibration, the 2021 LE found itself outgunned on almost every comparison point. There was also the hybrid battery question. Despite Toyota's stellar reliability record, many buyers, conditioned by years of EV battery anxiety saturating automotive media, began demanding discounts to cover perceived long-term battery costs. By 2027, asking prices for a clean 2021 Sienna Hybrid LE had settled in the $23,000 to $26,000 range, off more than 30% from its original $35,000 sticker. For a nameplate that had never trained its owners to expect that kind of slide, the number was genuinely jarring. Here is what makes this particularly striking. The XLE, Limited, and Platinum trims of the same model year held their asking prices meaningfully better. The content gap between the LE and those upper trims was not enormous, but in a world where every feature is weighed algorithmically before a buyer commits, it was enough. Would you have seen this coming from Toyota, the gold standard for reliability? Between the Voyager, the Transit, the Sprinter, and the Sienna, 4 stories of unexpected depreciation, each with its own logic, nothing prepared the market for what the 5th van did. Because the 5th van did not just lose value, it cratered. The 2023 Volkswagen ID. Buzz arrived wearing the weight of one of the most emotionally powerful legacies in automotive history. Unmistakably, a modern interpretation of the Volkswagen Type 2, its rounded silhouette, 2-tone paint schemes, and face that seemed to smile at you communicated joy, nostalgia, and possibility. Volkswagen had played the reveal perfectly. Years of concept teasing, extraordinary press coverage, genuine community enthusiasm. When the production ID. Buzz arrived for 2023, early adopters paid above MSRP premiums to secure one. The sticker was audacious. Standard configurations launched in the $50,000 to $60,000 range, with loaded examples approaching $70,000. The 91 kW battery offered around 234 miles of EPA-rated range. The automotive press declared it the spiritual successor to the most beloved van ever built. The van life community was captivated, but the future arrived faster than anyone expected. By 2024, competitors had moved aggressively into electric van territory. By 2025, newer options offered substantially better range, faster charging, and more polished software at competitive or lower prices. The ID. Buzz's figure of 234 miles, already modest relative to its price point at launch, looked increasingly thin as the alternatives multiplied. Then came the infotainment controversy. Forum threads filled with accounts of navigation failures, charging glitches, and interface freezes. Volkswagen pushed over-the-air updates, but trust, once cracked, is slow to repair. Close your eyes and picture this. You paid $60,000 for the most emotionally compelling van Volkswagen has built in the modern era. 18 months later, a neighbor purchases a newer electric van with 80 more miles of range, a far superior charging curve, and flawless software for less money. That feeling is the story of the ID, Buzz in miniature. The numbers landed regardless of what caused them. By early 2027, 2023 ID. Buzz examples with normal mileage had settled between $32,000 and $38,000 on sticker prices that had ranged from $55,000 to $62,000 at launch, a loss of 35 to 45% in under 4 years. For a product sold at luxury van pricing, that is a catastrophic floor. And the fall happened loudly. Every depreciation chart shared online, every forum post cataloging a new complaint, pushed the asking price lower still. There is something particularly poignant here. The original Type 2, the van this machine honored, is today one of the most valuable classics in the world. A pristine split-window example from the early 1960s can command $200,000 or more. It gained value because it was simple, honest, and built for a world where it fit perfectly. The ID. Buzz was built for a world that moved faster than it could keep up with. After everything we have seen, the quiet collapse of the Voyager, the fleet overhang that sank the Transit, the myth-busting of the Sprinter's residual reputation, the surprising fragility of the Sienna's entry trim, and the spectacular unraveling of the ID. Buzz, the rules of depreciation have changed. Brand loyalty no longer guarantees residual protection. Technology leadership today becomes a liability the moment something better appears. An emotional appeal cannot substitute for the cold arithmetic of supply, demand, and operating cost. True wisdom in the van market comes not from buying what everyone wants today, but from understanding what will remain genuinely desirable tomorrow. Which of these surprised you most? Tell me in the comments. And subscribe if you want more content exploring the greatest and most fascinating stories in the van world. We've got plenty more road to cover together.